So, this is the factory harness, engine harness, out of my 97 Dodge truck. Currently on the floor of the indoor garage that my wife, for some reason, refers to as the living room. And essentially what we're going to do is strip everything out of it that is not going to be necessary to run a carburetor. So, all the fuel injector plugs, the idle air control valve plugs, throttle position sensor, all that stuff, O2 sensors, all that's going to come out. It was a factory AC truck. I want to keep the AC, so essentially all that's going to stay in it is the AC trigger plug and AC compressor plug and the factory alternator stuff, so that I can run a factory magnum alternator and a factory magnum serpentine belt. Everything else is going to come out of it. First step in that is taking off all this factory split loom and tape and all the crap that I added to it when it had factory injection. Essentially, everything's got to come off of it until it's down to bare wires, so we can look at the wires, make sure there's no breaks in anything, and strip out all the crap we don't need. There you go. All the old electrical tape off the wire harness, all the split loom, some of which we're going to keep, and a random cat. All we're left with is this jumbled mess of wiring, most of which is going to go. All 8 injector plugs and the wires that go with them are going to come out. The IAC valve wiring, manifold absolute pressure wiring, throttle position sensor, all that stuff associated with the injection, the O2 sensors, all that's going to come out. Basically, all we're going to be left with is the alternator wiring and wiring for the gauges on the dash and AC. So we might have to keep the crank position sensor, AC trigger wire, AC compressor wire is going to stay, but pretty much everything else is going to come out of it. So we're going to lose about 80% of this mess and only keep what is absolutely necessary to run this with a carburetor and still have the factory gauges work for oil pressure, fuel level, coolant temp, and everything for the AC. Possibly going to try to keep cruise control as well, but everything else is going to get stripped out of it. So we have a nice clean look under the hood and nothing unnecessary that will not be needed to run with a carburetor. Random cat. And guinea pig. This is a pinout diagram or wiring diagram for the engine harness. Basically tells me what every wire goes to, from the PCM plug up there on the passenger side firewall to wherever it runs in the truck. So basically we're going to use that as a reference. This is actually a pinout for a V10 truck, but I do have a factory service manual for my 97 318 truck that will be a little more specific for my application. But basically we're just going to reference a diagram like this and take out every single little thing that's not necessary. So, stuff like the ignition coil drivers, in my case there's only one on a 318, but the ignition drivers, the throttle position sensors, the O2 sensors, the map sensor signal, all that stuff, that's all going to come out. All that we will be left with is things like the fuel pump relay circuit to kick the fuel pump on, which I will be changing to a lower pressure unit for the carburetor. All the stuff associated with the AC function and anything associated with cruise control. We're going to try to keep cruise control. I'm not sure if it's going to work, but all that stuff, the tach signal, the oil pressure sensor, basically anything to do with the gauges on the dash and the AC system is what we're really concerned about. Everything else is going to get pulled out, and we're really going to need very minimal wiring to run the carburetor itself. So we're going to start stripping stuff out of here that we know we won't need, like the circuitry for the injectors and the sensors related to it.